Have you ever defined your freedom number? Have you heard of this concept? Have you sat down and have you calculated it before? Well, whether you've never heard of it before or you just haven't had the time to sit down and calculate it, I'm really excited to talk to you about this incredibly powerful concept that's going to help you get to your goals faster on today's episode.
Welcome to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. Your guide on this journey is Amy Sylvis, ready to unlock the keys to a life of true abundance. We're diving into everything from financial freedom and optimal health to meaningful relationships, geographic freedom, and everything in between. It's about creating a life rich in experiences, purpose, and joy. Get ready for empowering conversations, expert insights, and real-life stories that inspire you to live abundantly. If you're ready for the secrets to an abundant life, hit that subscribe button now, and let's get started.
Welcome, everyone, to the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. My name is Amy Sylvis, and we are growing still on the podcast, which is super cool. Thank you all for the referrals, for sending these episodes to people in your network that you think could really benefit from what we teach here and how we try to encourage you. But for those who don't know me, my name is Amy Sylvis. I'm the founder and CEO of Sylvis Capital, and we connect investors to hands-off real estate investment income through our company. And gosh, I would like to just take a moment to ask you, if you value the podcast, to give us a rate and review, and of course, share with somebody who you think could really benefit from the education and encouragement we provide here. Thank you so much in advance. And speaking of which, we say abundance on this podcast all the time, and we know that abundance can be defined in many different ways. But on these solo episodes, I like to walk you all through the financial aspects of abundance. And part of that is your freedom number. So have you heard of this concept before? Have you heard of a freedom number? It really is the number at which your monthly passive income or hands-off income exceeds your monthly expenses. Once you have that, you are free. So everyone has different goals when it comes to abundance. Of course, we talk about that just in terms of fulfillment, in terms of giving back, in terms of relationships, geographic freedom. But a lot of these things are linked to our ability to pay our bills and have this financial freedom. But we haven't really dove into what this freedom number means. So the whole concept is really quite simple. And if you're like me, maybe you were taught at school, by family, by culture, that you need to stockpile a whole bunch of money, right? And that's really the goal. Save as much as you can, invest, create this nest egg. And then if you stop trading your time for money, whether you're, God forbid, sick, you're retired, you just want to opt out of the system, you gradually just pick away at the big pile of cash and investments that you have. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But a concept that I find to be much more empowering and more secure for myself, again, not financial advice, is to have these assets or savings or whatever your vehicle is that spins off cash flow every month or every quarter. So we don't touch the golden goose that's laying the eggs. We just live off of the eggs. So that's essentially the freedom number, is figuring out how much hands-off income do you have coming in monthly or quarterly, and what are the expenses? And once that exceeds your monthly or quarterly expenses, you're set. You're absolutely free. All right, so we're 2 minutes in. Now you've got the answer. Now you know. But hey, many of you listening, I'm assuming, are not quite at that freedom number, but you're looking to get there. Maybe you've made some focused steps on generating hands-off income, and there are many ways to do that, right? You can have royalties from books or from media. You can have residuals. That's the other word I was looking for as I was saying that. You can have dividends from stocks. You can clip coupons from bonds. You could do private lending to people in your network or even, across the world. Or you can do what we do, which is have cash flow for real estate. But there's no wrong or right way. It really depends on your goals, your time horizon, and your risk tolerance. So I happen to have several different hands off income streams, but one of them, of course, is real estate. So thinking through, and you may be saying, Amy, that's great, but I'm not even sure how to get started to generate that hands off income. So I want to give you a couple of ideas today on how you can consider starting to buy those assets or generate that hands off income. So now that you have your freedom number, you can work diligently month after month, maybe even year after year to get to that freedom number. We're going to take a quick minute to talk about investing and how to, if you choose to do, for example, private lending, invest in stocks that have dividends, clip coupons from bonds, or do hands off real estate investing. You may be saying, Amy, I'm not sure I have the money to even get that started. I don't even have the money to get those assets that will generate that cash flow or that goose that lays the golden egg. And I want to remind you of some of the resources that you may have available that maybe you don't even realize. So there are three of them that I want to talk about today. And almost everyone, even if they're very wealthy, that I speak to, not everyone knows that this is available to them. So the first one is your retirement account. Unfortunately, Wall Street has, I don't know if I'm going to say lie, but maybe hasn't been fully transparent with us in terms of how retirement accounts, especially 401ks from employers, can be used. A lot of us are told, hey, here's a bunch of stocks, bonds, and mutual funds that you can invest in your retirement account at your employer. And guess what? That's it. That's really all we have available to you. The hidden secret is once you've left that company, that's typically the scenario. Once you've left that company, you can roll your old company's 401k into a self directed IRA or solo 401k. Now, of course, you're going to be doing that without incurring penalties and without creating a taxable event, but you're not going to have access to that income likely until you are of retirement age. But that doesn't mean you can't have diversification in your portfolio as you wait to get to that age, right? So, diversifying outside of just stocks, bonds, and mutual funds to gold and silver bullion, private lending, businesses, private equity, actual real estate. Not financial advice, by the way, just giving you education on what your opportunities are. But that can start to create, you can invest in assets that have dividends that spin off cash flow, even within your retirement account. So once you are retired, you have that comfort of that diversification growing all of those years and not just in the stock market or in bonds, which for some people, that diversification is really helpful. So that's one area of access to capital that I would say maybe 80% of my investors don't even think about. They just think about the cash that's in their savings account, what they can invest. So your retirement account is one. And we've done a whole other podcast all about that. So with my dear friend, Brett Siddiqui. So we'll link to that if you're interested in learning more. Again, not investment advice. The second thing is trapped equity in your home. So again, I can't say this enough. This is not investment advice. This is education. This isn't going to fit for everyone. You're going to need to talk to a financial advisor and really talk through these scenarios. But you may have a home, your primary residence, another rental that's completely paid off. And gosh, that equity that's sitting within that home is called trapped equity. And for some people, it's worthwhile to do a HELOC or to refinance and put some of that capital to work to generate income. Now, there are, like any type of financial activity, there are upsides and downsides. I'm not saying you should do this. Please, please, no. We're just giving education here. But for some folks, especially that had, 2, 3, 4% interest rate on their home, they paid that off and really gave up that pretty inexpensive money. So, yes, interest rates are quite a bit higher now. So, hey, maybe in this environment, it doesn't make sense to get an 8, 9, 10% HELOC to access some of that trapped equity. But I just want to introduce the concept to you all of the fact that that equity that you're sitting in your house, doesn't have to just sit there and remain stagnant. For some people, it is worthwhile to find investments that they might be able to generate a higher return than maybe the interest rate that they would be granted on the HELOC or on taking that trapped equity out of their home. So that's just one idea. But again, consider interest rates, consider, the stability and the risk of the other investment that you may use and how likely it is to be able to generate some enough cash flow to be able to cover whatever payment plan or monthly payment you may have with a HELOC, for example, or a refinance to pull equity out. So, just a few things to consider. Talk to your financial advisor because I am definitely not one. The other thing you can consider is this concept of infinite banking, using whole life insurance to kind of be your own bank. And we'll put some resources in the show notes as well. But there is a fascinating concept of using whole life insurance to, gosh, it's going to be tough to summarize here, but it can be an incredible source of capital for some folks to be able to have access to capital at a pretty low interest rate and to go ahead and take some money there, invest that and generate higher returns than, of course, the interest rate that they're paying there. Have you ever thought about having multiple streams of income? Instead of relying on just one stream of income where you're trading your time for money, how would you like to free up more of your time and live a more abundant life? As a listener of the show, you're invited to attend one of our upcoming trainings where I'll give you an inside look into how you can add passive income and get all the other perks of recession-resistant real estate investing without the headaches of being a landlord. I'll also be sharing some hidden mistakes to avoid and the criteria I personally look for when evaluating potential investment opportunities. To reserve your seat for free, go to sylviscapital.com/webinar. Again, that special link to reserve your seat for free is sylviscapital.com/webinar. I look forward to seeing you on the training. And now back to the show. What's so empowering about knowing your financial freedom number and then understanding how you can have access to capital to help you generate that monthly or quarterly cash flow to take you on steps closer to financial independence, there's just so much empowerment there. Again, not a recommendation, but infinite banking, being your own bank, accessing trapped equity in assets that you may own, like real estate, or a solo 401k, self-directed IRA, all concepts that many of my investors have never heard of and are really excited to be able to learn about. Bare minimum, right? Maybe it's not for you. For some people, not a good idea for them. For others, it might be helpful, but it all starts with education and empowerment in that respect. So I'm excited to give you all some resources. Again, we'll put these in the show notes, but 3 books I want to recommend to you. First one is Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. Really, really great book to read and understand more about this concept of hands-off income and the different ways we can earn income, including how it's taxed. There's a nice little hint there. And then there's a book called Become Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. That is about the infinite banking concept that I think is worthwhile checking out and understanding. And then again, we'll link the podcast that we all did with regards to using self-directed IRAs and solo 401ks to invest outside of Wall Street and the bond market. And then there's finally a really great book called Hands Off Investor by Brian Burke that talks about hands-off investing in real estate. If you're new to that concept, that can be a neat thing for you to check out and really, really beef up your education. Again, it is all about understanding the tools that the wealthy use to be able to reach goals that I know we all have to be financially independent, and checking in with ourselves and understanding, hey, does this fit my goals, my risk tolerance, and my time horizon? Really excited to introduce all those concepts to you all today. I know this is a quicker episode, but thanks again for joining in. Please share this with somebody that you think it would be helpful to. It helps us so much here at the podcast to be able to serve as many people as possible. And we hope you have a wonderful week. Looking forward to seeing you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Secrets to Abundant Living podcast. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will empower you on your journey towards abundance. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps others discover the secrets to an abundant life too. Stay connected with us on LinkedIn, Amy Sylvis. Keep striving for your goals, nurturing your relationships, and embracing the adventure that is life. Until next time, we wish you an abundantly fulfilling day.